Today, gas stations are so safe and efficient that most people don't give them a second thought. But behind this ordinary experience is a century of engineering evolution. After all, gas stations now pump out 3 billion gallons of fuel around the world every day, a feat made possible by countless innovations buried just below the surface. When you pull into a modern station, a truck has recently refilled the underground storage tanks. The process is clever. As gasoline enters the tank, a flapper valve ensures it can't be overfilled. Meanwhile, flammable vapor gets pushed out through a secondary pipe and back into the truck, where it's returned to the plant, cooled, and condensed into usable fuel. Nothing wasted and nothing leaked. Those underground tanks? They're no longer the corroding steel hazards of the past. Today, they're made from fiberglass and loaded with safety features to protect soil, water, and air. Now, when you fill your car, a pump deep underground sends fuel through filters and, piping to the nozzle in your hand, a miniature marvel of mechanical engineering. Here's how it works. As fuel flows through the narrow nozzle opening, it creates low pressure due to the Ventures effect. This sucks in air through a small hole and sends it through a narrow pipe to a sealed chamber. When your tank fills, that hole gets blocked. With no more air, a vacuum forms in the chamber, lifting a membrane. This causes ball bearings to drop, snapping the lever shut and cutting off fuel flow, automatically preventing overfilling. It wasn't always this smooth. Back in the 1940s, self-service gas stations were unheard of. But in 1947, a man named Frank Ulrich changed that. By eliminating the need for attendants, he dropped gas prices by 5 cents per gallon down to just 18 cents. At first, the idea seemed dangerous. Customers didn't know when to stop fueling, and gasoline often spilled everywhere. That's when engineers invented the automatic shutoff nozzle, making self-service safe and practical. But vapor was still a huge problem. Unlike kerosene, which only released flammable vapors above 38 degrees Celsius, gasoline vaporized constantly at 40 degrees Celsius, filling the air with danger and making fires a terrifying possibility. To contain that risk, gas stations evolved. Instead of keeping fuel above ground in visible glass tanks, stations began placing it underground. The first to do so was the Gulf Oil Company in Pittsburgh in 1913, which opened the world's first dedicated fueling station. It had a large underground tank connected to 6 pumps, serving multiple cars at once. In its first week, it went from selling 30 gallons to 350 gallons a day, priced at 27 cents per gallon. Before that, things were much more chaotic. In the early 1900s, cars were filled by hand using cans and funnels, a slow, messy, and dangerous process. You'd buy kerosene at a hardware store, where an employee would pour it into your container. Then you'd manually pour it into your car. It worked, but barely. That's when American inventor Sylvan U.S. Browser introduced the fuel pump, a hand-cranked machine that dispensed exactly 1 gallon of fuel per crank. This allowed for street-side fueling stations, but customers still couldn't verify how much fuel they were getting. So came the visible fuel pump. A glass tank on top of the pump showed the exact amount before gravity drained it into your car. It was simple and effective, but couldn't handle the coming surge. In 1900, there were only 8,000 cars in the US, but by 1912, there were 1.2 million. Suddenly, traffic jams formed around every curbside pump, and their 50-gallon tanks couldn't keep up. On top of that, storing fuel above ground was a recipe for disaster. Thus, in 1913, the modern gas station was born. And that's how we went from pouring kerosene in a tin can to today's ultra-efficient, mostly invisible network of fuel infrastructure, all born from a simple desire for convenience, safety, and the freedom to travel.